On this episode of Don't Skip the Legal, join me on a telling journey as we delve into the world of media and content creation with Paresa Noble, the visionary force behind Nobler Media. In this special two-part series, we unravel the secrets behind building a robust media brand that transcends boundaries, reaching wider audiences, and inspiring positive action. Our captivating discussion with Paresa unveils the strategies, challenges, and milestones in her remarkable journey. In this first episode, we explore the intricacies of shaping a thriving media business, uncovering the steps to empower individuals and businesses to share their stories authentically. But that's not all. Our conversation with Paresa extends beyond the realm of creativity. In the second part, we navigate the legal landscape of AI in marketing, unraveling the complexities and implications of integrating artificial intelligence into content creation. So buckle up for an exciting exploration into the heart of media entrepreneurship and the legal considerations that accompany the innovative use of AI. Get ready to be inspired and informed as this conversation with Paresa Noble of Nobler Media promises to be a transformative experience. Stay tuned for part one of this captivating interview. I'm Andy Contaglia, your corporate casual Denver-based business attorney, bringing you the Don't Skip the Legal podcast, where you can listen in on the real stories, the real stakes, and the real legal lessons from real business owners just like you. These behind-the-door conversations about business are instrumental to your success. This is where the deals are made, negotiations are discussed, and company problems are identified, leading you to overcoming the challenges we all face in our business. This podcast is your invitation to where the real business happens, and also where the best ideas take place. So let's get behind the doors in business and break down these legal lessons. And overall, remember, don't skip the legal. I am here today with the amazing Paresa Noble. She is the owner and the proprietor of the Nobler Media. Nobler Media. That's it, just right?
That's it. Yes. Hello.
Nobler Media. It's a content creation platform that empowers individuals to surpass limits, expand their reach, and ignite positive change by curating and disseminating the insights and stories of those poised to impact industries, minds, and connections. Say that like 12 times in one breath, right?
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
And your marketing services, you also offer ghostwriting, publishing, podcast production, SEO, workbook design, digital marketing, and book coaching and editing, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you for being here. You and I have known each other for quite some time.
Yes. And we go back. You've seen the whole journey from when I started this agency to where we are now recording this podcast. So I'm excited for this conversation, that's for sure.
Tell me a little bit about your journey into creating your own company. As you know, on this podcast, I like to discuss owners' journeys into creating amazing businesses, creating and building and growing. That's really a place where I love to sort of plant myself in my clients' world. But tell us about Nobler Media. Tell us about your mission, your services. Tell us your story. How did you get from start to where you are today? Because it has been an absolutely incredible journey.
Yes, it has. So it was 2019 that I left corporate America, and I was doing a lot of events and marketing there. And I left to do freelance event planning for B2B companies. So focusing a lot on working with keynotes, planning webinars, conferences, things like that. And that was just 6 months before the lovely pandemic. So that was exciting. That was a big shift. They say character shines through adversity. And I think that definitely shaped up Nobler Media's character and what we do, because it was then that I actually started helping my dad write his memoir. He has a crazy story about how they came to America from Iran. So I got to learn about his story and go through that journey. And while I kind of figured out what to do, since all events got canceled, right? You legally couldn't host an event and bring people together. When I started leaning into the marketing side of my business. So writing blogs, managing social for a couple clients. And those clients heard about me writing my dad's book and asked if I could write their book. And then it was almost as if I turned around and started swimming downstream, and I found the need, the entrepreneurs, the people who have a story, who they want to share it with the world and educate people, or even just leave a legacy for their family. that has been where we've really nestled into. So today it's turned into more of an authority marketing agency where we're helping people with personal branding and positioning themselves as an authority figure, giving themselves credibility through the content they make, the books they write, the things that they do, to really just share what they know inside their head with the world. It's been amazing.
How did you get recruited, so to speak, to write your dad's memoirs? And tell us a little bit about your dad and not everybody's father is around there creating memoirs, but what about your dad? I mean, especially today with all the political stuff going on with Iran and a lot in the world and in the Middle East, and it sounds like your dad's story on his own is an incredible one. But how do you get recruited to do that, and what interested you in that process?
That's a great question. I think my dad, he had been writing what had happened because he was in the Navy during the revolution in Iran.
So this is like during the Shah era,
yes.
That kind of stuff.
Yep. Okay. So he was there during the Shah, and then he kind of saw what happened during the revolution, and then they got political asylum here in America. So it was him documenting that and kind of journaling what happened. And he had been wanting to write this book forever, and he had reached out to a few different ghostwriters. Ghostwriters have really steep prices. They can be upwards to $100,000. So it was, how can we help you? I mean, my sister and I know how to, we're pretty good at writing, we thought at the time, and we have the skills to help them. So that was kind of how it started, was, you have such a crazy story, Dad, how can we help you share this? Because we wanted to learn more about him, and then we wanted to create that kind of legacy piece for him, so then when our kids are older they can read it. So that was kind of how we got recruited into doing it, and it just turned into, honestly, such a blessing, because it kind of helped me find my footing in what my business is supposed to be doing and how we can most impact people, So it's very serendipitous.
So you basically, your dad became Nobler Media's very first client.
Yes, he was. He's a great client.
That's good. Are you still doing work for him? I mean, were you able to tell us how you ended up with the book and where that ended up at the end?
He hit bestseller, which was amazing.
Wow.
And he was the first. At this point we're at 12 international bestsellers across different industries. And
this is your company as a whole?
As a whole, okay. Yeah. So for me, it's been 8, and then I have an incredible team that has brought a lot to the table too, and I think that's been a big piece of our journey as well.
So you start off with your dad. He's your first client. Mm-hmm. Who became your second client? The first one's always easy.
Yeah.
It's the second one and the third one. Mm-hmm. But here you are, you're 12 bestsellers in, mm-hmm. And ghostwriting books and helping people write their books isn't the only thing your company does. But how do you get from your dad to your second client? What do you do to help build and grow your business? What did you do?
Good question. I think a lot of it is building relationships, because I was helping my clients at the time with their blogs and their social, and it was really just a matter of being open about, here's what else I'm doing. Like, it's been in casual conversation is how that came up. I'm helping my dad write his book. And then it was as if I planted a seed, and then a couple months later he came and asked us to write his book as well. So that was how number 2 came along. And then it was the same thing. It was all warm network, people who I have either known for a long time or had met through networking groups and other professional opportunities. And it was just being open and talking about, what are you working on? What are some fun projects you're doing? And it sparks an interest. So that was how I got the first couple. And then from there, honestly, it took getting a business coach, a mentor. So Tony Grebmeyer has been a big piece of going from kind of like, really honestly, the employee mentality from when I came from corporate America to entrepreneur mentality. And that big paradigm shift, I think, is a big reason why I've been able to kind of, really just scale and grow a team, grow the portfolio, things like that. So I think business coach is a big thing too.
It's definitely a big part. I know in using my business coach over the years, she was instrumental in getting me from point A to point B. And even now, here I am. Been 17 years since I started my company back in 2007. But I'm always looking for opportunities where I can grow and looking for ways that I can build my business, do things better, make things operate more efficiently. And I mean, you've been lucky. You've had a number of people stay with you. You haven't really gone through the turnover. I've had to go through a lot of turnover and a lot of personal health issues as well, and then get my boat upright after capsizing in some respects. And so I think the use of a business coach is definitely something that anybody in business should consider. And I know that you and I have built a really good relationship. You've reached out. You've become a really good friend of mine, and you've even written some content for me, which is great. And if people here have looked at any of my YouTube videos or even some of the other podcasts that I've put together, you've done a great job in putting together a good script and a good outline of putting things together. So here you are. You've got your first couple clients. You've written a couple of books, and you're thinking, all right, I've got this business coach. She's telling me what I need to do. What goes through your mind when you're like, now I need to scale. Now I need to grow. Was that an easy time for you, or was that a terrifying time for you?
It's interesting because I'm still in that process. I've come a long way since that time, but I still have a long way to go. So I think from that point to scale, it was a lot of, when you're in a surface-based business, you can only scale as much as the time that you have to work on the projects. So as a one woman show, it was essentially, I can only take on X number of books and X number of social media clients until I bring on someone else that I can trust.
Yeah, there's only so many hours in a day that you can actually work.
Yeah. So at that point, it was, okay, I need help. So that was the first step, was finding contractors who could help me. And I went through a few really talented people, and they helped me kind of with the overflow of work that I needed support on. And then it kind of became, okay, processes. I think that was the key that really turned everything around, was when I actually started documenting my processes and how we're doing it differently than other similar agencies and companies, and then being able to train that. And that was when things shifted, because you could bring in a contractor who has experience in social media marketing or who has experience in ghostwriting, but they're not going to do it in the way that Nobler Media would do it, right? And it would almost be a diluted service because it's from other places.
Well, you want to create your own brand, and you create your own way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And there are, you can watch a movie and you can go, that's a Spielberg movie, and because of the way that it is designed and the way that it is operated. Mm-hmm. And I think in content creation, you can sort of pick and see, who is the mind behind that design, or who is the mind behind, that particular brand and way of doing things. But in our business, in service-related industries, I think that process is really important. I'm always trying to fine-tune my process and make it even better. Sounds like you found a really good niche with yours. But you raised an interesting point, and you and I have had this discussion before, and that is the use of contractors in your business. Mm-hmm. And I advise people all the time that it is a fine line between having somebody as an independent contractor in your business and stepping over the line and making them an employee without ever really realizing that happens.
Right.
So how are you navigating that line between independent contractor and your employee?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that's something that that was a big tug of war for me, because obviously when you bring people on as an employee, it's a little bit more expensive. You have a little bit more of a commitment as far as liability and things go. But at the same time, you can pour into them a little bit better and trust that they are going to stay with you if they are a W-2 versus a contractor. But also, I think it was you that told me, if they're performing one of your core competencies as a business, then that's where the line is really, it's not fine anymore. It's like they are your employee.
Yeah, so there are a number of factors. I think there's 16 factors that the IRS, the Department of Labor, and your local Department of Revenue here in Colorado, the Colorado Department of Revenue, in terms of classifying the people who work for you as independent contractors or employees. And it doesn't matter what you think they are. It doesn't matter what I think they are. It matters what they think they are. And based on those 11 factors, not one single factor alone is dispositive of whether somebody is or isn't an independent contractor or an employee. But one of the key factors is, are you controlling what they do? Is the work that these people are performing the work that your company does? Or is the work that they're performing something completely separate from that? The true independent contractor is, you log into Fiverr, you log into Upwork, and you hire somebody who is running their own little company, and you ask them to provide X for you. And they do it, and they deliver it to you, they charge you for the service, and you pay them, and you get the product. That is the true independent contractor. Your business is a little bit different because you are putting them into this process, you're putting them into this area of, we are a content creation company. I want you to come on board and create content for me, for my clients, and I'm going to tell you how I want it done. Mm-hmm. So now you're sort of really tiptoeing along that. How are you dealing with that?
You mean like when people come in to hire our team, or specifically?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how are you managing keeping people in the right lane? I think it's important for you, and as we've talked, you're still using a number of contractors. Mm-hmm. How are you making sure they stay contractors and not bleeding into the space of being an employee for you?
Good question. So I think the biggest thing is there is full flexibility and freedom, and it's very project-based for all of our contractors. So the only work that they have is when we have a client project and we say, okay, here's a book that we need you to edit, get it back to us by X date, and they get it back to us by X date. So they're working on their own terms. They have their own processes. We're not telling them be working from 8 to 5 and get this. So we're giving them kind of flexibility to run it how they want to run it. And then for those who are more consistent, we convert them to W-2.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the importance of legal knowledge in the business world. Legal issues can be a minefield, but they don't have to be. That's why I am thrilled to introduce you to a resource that will be your guiding light through these challenges. Get ready to discover the ultimate legal companion for entrepreneurs. I am excited to introduce you to Don't Skip the Legal, the startup guide for entrepreneurs and business owners, your ultimate companion for conquering the legal challenges of entrepreneurship. It is authored by me, Andy Contaguglia, a seasoned business lawyer based here in Denver, Colorado. This book is your roadmap to navigating the legal landscape with confidence. Inside, you'll find valuable insights on choosing the right business entity, understanding fiduciary duties, tackling financing options, hiring employees, and even nailing down the perfect business name and location. But that's not all. You can get your hands on this essential guide in both Kindle and paperback form, making it super convenient for you. If you're ready to empower your business with knowledge, head over to Amazon, head over to Kindle, and grab your copy of Don't Skip the Legal today. For more details and updates, visit don'tskipthelegal.com, and don't let the legal hold you back in succeeding in business. With Don't Skip the Legal, the startup guide for entrepreneurs and business owners, you can take your business to new heights. Available on Amazon and Kindle. Now let's get back to the pod. And I think that's the safe space to go. The more you use these people, the more that you are bringing them in and integrating them into your systems and your processes. I think you really need to pay that little extra just for that security, because you're going to have penalties. You're going to have, different, items that could come up. And in another situation, you could end up having some of these employees or contractors decide, hey, I didn't like the way that Paresa treated me. And so now I'm going to go after her company. I am going to sue for wrongful termination. I am going to sue for unemployment. I am going to ask for overtime wages and things like that. And then at that point, the moment that the complaint is filed, you now have to defend it. It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't matter that you said she's been a contractor the entire time, because the Department of Labor is going to go, yeah, we don't care. Prove it to us. Because as long as the person makes, the prima facie showing, or like an initial showing that they are in fact an employee, it's up to the employer then to flip that around and show that they weren't. I represented a salon a few years back and the owner of the salon had people coming in and working their own schedules and doing all this and doing hair, doing nails, doing eyelashes, the whole bit. And the owner got in a dispute with one of the workers, and what do you think that worker did? She ran off, and she decided that she wanted to file an unemployment claim or file a wrongful termination claim after my client booted her, and we found ourselves fighting a claim. And in that situation, the hearing officer found against our client, because the main factor being My client owned and operated a salon, and this person was there doing salon things. And all the money coming in through that person went to the business and that kind of stuff. That is, I think, something that any employer who has people working as contractors really needs to be cautious about.
Yeah.
And I would hope, and I think I know the answer to this. Please, I hope I know what the answer is to this. You have independent contractor agreements for every one of your contractors, right? Mm-hmm. And another thing that's a huge factor to look at is that they're under contract, and as a contractor, you've already mentioned you're not controlling their work, you're not controlling their hours, but are you paying people individually, or are you paying companies that are doing work for you?
Individuals.
Okay.
Or retro. Yeah, it's individual contractors.
Okay, so you're paying Jane Doe to do the work for you. All right, little thing to just sort of fine tune that. You might want to consider having each of these people starting their own little LLCs, and then they bill you for their time, and then you pay that invoice and you pass that cost on to your client. Mm-hmm. I think that is the best way to manage the contractor component. Think of it. If you were to hire a painter to come over and paint your house,
right?
All right, or your office, they come in, they paint, they give you an invoice, you pay, and they leave. That is the true independent contractor.
Yeah. Pick
your industry: painter, plumber, cleaning crew, whatever it is. So with these people who are doing this work for you, you might want to consider, I need you to go and set up an LLC. I'm going to give you tasks. I'm going to give you work to do. They can sign your contract, but then they get it done, they deliver it, and then they invoice you. And then you pay the invoice, and then you can pass that cost directly onto your customer.
Okay.
That might be a good way of keeping yourself protected. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody here that you've been doing it wrong. It's not wrong to do it the way you're doing it. Let me make that clear.
Sure. You just have to be a little more careful.
Yes.
The more careful you are, the better.
And what I'm trying to do is protect you. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure that you and your company are protected, so you don't have somebody later on coming in and going, oh, well, Noble Media, they're crushing it nowadays. I think now's a good time for me to, sue them for something, and let's figure it out, because people do that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
People live in a litigious society, and people want to do those types of things, and it's unfortunate. So you have to do everything you can to protect yourself. Now, the independent contractor agreement is going to give you the first layer of protection. But even though if you have one of those, if those other things aren't being done, if you're not keeping them separate, and it sounds like you are, you're going to be fine. That little piece, just a little point of information, might be the best thing that you could do to really tilt it in your favor later on. So think of it like if you found these people on Fiverr or on Upwork, and you said, hey, I've got this project, I need you to do ghostwriting. Yeah. Here's what it is. They would take the project, they would do it. 99 Designs, another good one. Graphic design. I've used them in the past. You get a bunch of solicitations, you figure out which one you like, and you buy it. And then they hand over all their rights to you.
Yeah.
And that sort of brings up another issue. We'll get to it later. But yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
I love that. No, I really appreciate that. And I think that's when you're starting a business, especially if you go from corporate to entrepreneurship, there's so many little nuances that you have to learn them, and you have to be cognizant of them in order to protect yourself. So I think that's a huge thing. I appreciate that.
Do you think that using contractors in your business has helped you scale it in a way that you're happy with? Or do you think if you could go back, let's rewind you right before the pandemic, as you're building your organization, besides what I told you, how I think you should make changes, what do you think you would have done or could do differently to make it even better?
I don't know that I would change anything. I think a lot of what I started with, it was all bootstrapped. So it was kind of a matter of the revenue comes in based on project load. So I would kind of be hesitant to commit to bringing on a W-2 at the early stages when it was so project-based and we were, trying to find the next client. So I don't know if, ideally in a perfect world, I would probably come out the gate with our own W-2. This is how we do it. This is our processes. But I think all of our contractors have been so wonderful in adapting to that as well. They'd bring their own flair into it, especially in the early stages. But especially now, the contractors that we work with are amazing. I mean, they are very adaptable and cognitive of our processes, and it's a very good team dynamic.
Well, they like working with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Well, you've built a great team, and I went on your website, I checked things out, and I mean, I think the last time that you and I had talked before getting all this squared away, it's probably been about over a year or so.
Yeah.
And even from a year ago, your team has grown. I think it's great to see everything that you have, that you've built. I think that you could take it one step further and bring those people on as employees and build and come rent space for me in my office building.
We just
build your team, which I think is great because I represent a number of media companies and marketing companies, and they have teams of people and their employees, and it's just everybody knows what's going on and going on and going on. I don't know what the relationship is like between your contractors, or if you just happen to be the common denominator between all of them, where you're the pivot point. Everybody comes through you and they know you through you, or if they've built independent relationships with one another outside of Noble.
The latter. Yeah. It's become a very family dynamic in a sense. And it's interesting because everybody is spread out. Like we have maybe 2 people here in Denver other than myself, and the rest of them are all over Puerto Rico.
So you're using people you're doing virtual working.
Everything
is great.
Virtual. Yeah, everything is virtual. So that's posed its own challenges too. I mean, it's nice. It has its pros and cons because when you're fully remote, you have a bigger hiring pool. You have access to more talent from all over. Whereas if I was just hiring here in the Denver metro area, you're confined to the pool of talent in Denver, right? So that's always a win. But then it's also, the challenges of building a culture on Zoom, and how are we going to celebrate the holidays together? So you got to get creative, but
are you the people who are working out of Colorado, or not in Colorado but outside of Colorado, they're all contractors. I mean, one thing that we've run into with some of my other marketing companies is they are completely virtual and they have employees all over, and if you're paying those people, these people are employees, and so you now have to register your business in the location where you have an employee. You have to pay your income taxes and your unemployment taxes in those states and things like that. Another reason where, as you're sending off your 1099s and your paychecks to these people, all the more reason that you want them to be independently operating what they do outside of the state to help you. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this question. Are some of your contractors, if not all of them, do they have other people they're working for besides you?
Yes.
See, that's also a key factor. Mm-hmm. That piece alone helps you maintain that distance between them, because you can't serve 2 masters unless you are your own master, and then you become the servant because you're the one who then provides them the work and they become sort of the one who guides you. You become basically their client.
Yeah.
And they're running their own independent thing. So that's good. If they are running their own business and they are doing work for other content creators or other companies, that is the true freelance way of doing things. And they're under contract with you, they're under contract with somebody else, and that's great. Mm-hmm. Funny story real quick. So my associate, this was years ago, before she came to work for me, she was running her own business. And she had a bookkeeper who was doing work for her. And this bookkeeper was just a contractor, helping her do her books, helping her do her taxes, and that kind of thing. After she came to work for me, the Department of Labor, I think it was the Colorado Department of Revenue, decided they wanted to audit her. And so they audited my associate and realized that they wanted to basically say, this woman who's been doing all this bookkeeping work for you is your employee and not a contractor. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm a lawyer. This person is a bookkeeper. Yeah, but she's doing work for you. And she is working for your company, and that is all she's doing. It's in the development and the creation and everything relative to your company. Sorry, but she's an employee. And she fought it, and she was like, that's not fair, that's not right. And eventually the investigator was like, all right, let me ask you this question. Is she doing work for anybody else? And luckily, the bookkeeper was keeping the books for like one other business. Not a lawyer, but another business.
Yeah.
The investigator was like, all right, that's enough. And so she's like, oh, whew, we got through that one. But that's the other thing. And that's something I always ask, which is like, is this contractor who's working for you doing work for other people.
Right.
And that's important. Now, with contractors, that also brings up another issue, and that is your customer contracts.
Ah, yes.
Are you putting your customers on notice about how you are using contractors in the fulfillment of the work you're doing for them?
We have it in our contract with our clients that the work we do is kind of, I don't remember the exact verbiage in there, but it is like our Nobler Media and its associates or something along those lines. But that's really the
You don't know what's in your contract?
I'll give you the high-level summary.
All right, 35,000 foot view. Good. We're flying over some state somewhere.
Some
Great.
states. We don't know what's beneath us. But no, it's light verbiage on it. But we haven't discussed it like this person is a contractor and this person is a W-2. Is that even appropriate, though?
I would think that when your customer hires you, and I don't mean you, I mean the proverbial you, that they might want to know who is working with you. And if you're making a representation that you have a team of people who are working for you, there's an impression that they may have that says, oh, well, I'm thinking that this person is affiliated or associated with you somehow, but in reality, you keep going to the same Upwork person in the Philippines to do the content creation rather than disclosing that to your customer.
Sure.
And I just think that it's important I think more information never hurts.
Yeah.
And I think that you can certainly evaluate that. Like in my contract with what I do hire contractors. I pitch out work to other attorneys. And I put in my contract, like, listen, there are going to be times that I'm going to hire people to do this job that are contractors. They're not employees of me, and they're going to do this work. I'm going to charge you no more for their time than I would for my own time to do this job. And you're agreeing that I'm allowed to do that. And that's in there. And if anybody ever comes back to say, well, you never told me, it's right there in the contract. Yeah. So those, just a couple sentences in your contract that say, hey, there are times that Nobler Media uses independent contractors to assist with our work. You are agreeing that we can, and that at the end of the day, you'll still get final say over the product that we deliver to you. And I think that can be helpful in managing the expectations of your client, because again, what happens when clients aren't happy with something? They have a tendency to reach out and get angry, and you end up holding the bag at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. And I think, everyone that we work with we don't have any like overseas contractors working on anything. I mean, we'll do our covers, which they know is through 99 Designs. I mean, they're part of that whole process. So I guess they do know the parts that are truly like a contracted piece. But then we have like our core group of contractors who we go to over and over again. So maybe that's where the fine line might be too, but it's become, this is like our team essentially. But how they're classified is more so the housekeeping items.
All right, I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Okay, let's go.
What's stopping you from bringing those people on just as employees?
Yeah. I appreciate this question because maybe we can talk through it and make a decision right here, right now. So it's essentially, I mentioned it earlier, but we're very project based, right? Like we'll have our monthly marketing clients where we're supporting them with, ongoing content creation, but then we also have the project based. So a lot of it is like, as much as we grow for the projects, at least it's, per project. So I guess the hesitation lies in the last thing I'd want to do is bring on, W-2s and then the project load, I don't know. Does it?
Well, you can think of yourself as a general contractor. Think of like you're building a house. All right? The house you're building is the creation of Andy Contaguglia's memoirs. I don't know who would buy it, but maybe a couple people might think it's kind of cool. All right, so you need to put your team together. You need a ghostwriter. You need somebody to interview me. You need somebody to design the cover. You need somebody to do the publishing. You need somebody to do the editing, and then somebody you need to get into the sales component of it at the end. So all 5 or 6 of those people could be part of your team internally, or you could contract out each one of those individuals. But now the question becomes, how are they integrated into your system and the way that you do things? Because you can certainly hire each of those people independently. Here I am building my house, and I need a framer, I need a roofer, I need somebody who does carpentry. And all those people, I mean, some contractors have those people on site, but many times they hire subcontractors to do the work. And those subcontractors, they come in, they lay the masonry, or they lay the floors, and then what do? They give the contractor a bill, and the contractor takes it and says, here we go. Hey, homeowner, now that we've built this, here's the bills for everybody I've had to pay in order to get that done. And now it's the homeowner's responsibility to now go ahead and make sure that contractor gets paid to pay the subs. Okay. And I think that's the best way to manage that system. Okay. As frustrating and as pain in the ass as it is. Now, there may be somebody out there who completely disagrees with me, which I would expect. But that's me. I'm kind of ultra conservative in that respect because I've seen people get their asses burned. Yeah. And I want to see that happen.
So would you say that, building the house could be the metaphor for these projects? Because that's kind of how I see it. It's like when we have a project, that's when there's the need. So then to bring people on, because the ones that there is a consistent need, they are W-2, right? And
Absolutely.
And then the ones that, it's more specifically project-based, those are the ones who have stayed contract. And, I think as we get to a point where the workload is enough for them to be there consistently, without like a month-long lull till the next book editing project or something, So I think once we get over that hump, then it will make more sense.
So if you did these project by project hires, why not hire somebody as a W-2 for that project and then fire them, or for a limited term? I mean, you could call them a contractor, but you just need to make sure you're paying them appropriately. Because what we're really talking about is a tax consequence and, a liability consequence in terms of the relationship between you and your employees and the people who work for you. Because when you're an owner of a company and you have employees, the law has much different nature of the business relationship that you two have versus you as the owner of the company and an independent contractor who comes in. That relationship in the eyes of the law is a much different relationship. If you have these projects, you can bring people on for a certain period of time and you pay them as W-2 employees, but it's for 4 months rather than forever.
And then just have them come on again for the next project?
For the next project. You hire them again, you bring them in.
Interesting.
Do something like that.
Okay.
I know it may cost a little bit more, but a lot of this you're passing the cost back on to your customer for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I didn't even know that was an option to do.
Sure, that's okay. You mean if I hire an employee, I have to hire them forever and every day?
If something bad happens,
hire them part-time. Hire them part-time. Hire them 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week.
Yeah. Okay. This is great.
You only run into problems if they make them work more than 40 hours a week. Okay. Anything less than 40, you're going to be fine. You just set the wage, set it, pay the withholdings, move it on. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, from the employee standpoint, a lot of people don't want, employees are like, I don't want to be or not employees, but independent contractors are like, sure, I don't want to be your employee. I want to do independent. I want to be on my own. I don't want to listen to what you have to say. I want to do things my own way, which is fine, and you can do that, but then you need to take that next step and go, great, give me the name of your company, here's my contract, and then you're going to do this work, and at the end of it, you invoice me, and when I get your invoice, I'll pay it, and I'll pass that cost on to my client. That, I think, really keeps that buffer between you two at the right space. That really protects you overall at the end of the day.
Oh, that's gold.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Yes. Okay, well, I'm going to
send you a bill for that time.
Yeah, no, that was so good. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Don't Skip the Legal podcast. I'm your host, Andy Contaguglia. I hope you enjoyed our time together and this great opportunity to peek behind the business door and examine the legal lessons in business. If you're keen to hear how these lessons can be applied in the real world, well, join us next week for another episode where you can listen in to another business success story. As always, you can head over to contaguglia.com/podcast to sign up to our email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in our show notes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at AJCESQ. Thanks again. This is Andy Contaguglia reminding you to don't skip the legal. Good luck. The legal information contained in this podcast is intended for general informational and entertainment purposes only. It should only be used as a starting point for addressing your specific legal issue. The legal information I talk about does not create an attorney-client relationship between you and me. This podcast is not a substitute for an in-person or telephonic consultation with a lawyer who is licensed to practice in your jurisdiction, about your specific legal issue, and you should not rely on this legal information for those purposes. You understand that questions and answers or other information contained in this podcast are not confidential and are not subject to attorney-client privilege. I am not providing you a legal service. Every legal case is different, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your own attorney.